So let's begin with Peace's personal pitches with Savage, a TV series based off DC Comics' immortal titan Vandal Savage. Now, I'm not someone to force a pitch to fit an established character. However, in this case, what's displayed in the comics strongly works with my pitch, so it is an A-OK. Now, the basic exploration of his story is essentially the life of Vandal Savage, from his savage times as a caveman, to when he tried to be a god during the times of Mesopotamia and Greece, to his assistance in conquering the New World, and all the way up to when he tried to be an economic titan during the Industrial Age and Cold War. An intense exploration of human history through the guise of an unkillable madman, with some little sprinkles of DC Easter eggs, like a clash against Thanagarians in Egypt, as well as a brush with the Waynes during the time of industry. Ideally, I'd have the series play out chronologically, with each season focusing on a specific pivotal segment of time. However, due to people not speaking comprehensive English till recently, and how jarring some of the time jumps would be, I'd figured that I would start the story with when Savage is kicking around during the Industrial Age, with Lost/Arrow-esque flashbacks to past ventures. Imagine a scenario where the Fuhrer is trying to hold down Savage, seemingly helpless. Then Vandal flashes back to when he brutally beat a Spartan. He then has a smile. The Nazi scum don't stand a chance. This is by far the most expansive concept I have. A lot could be done with it, reflecting this immortal conqueror to human history. There's a lot to think of with this series, and if I was to streamline this fat story, focus in on a certain aspect, I would narrow into the very beginning of this life, back to when he was just a brutish Neanderthal. With the consideration that Vandal's story takes up basically all of human history, I think it would be cool to focus a cinematic type mini-series on Vandal's origin, specifically Savage. Year 10,000. For this prequel pitch, I'm gonna go in depth, describing 9 episodes in great detail of this grand Paleolithic tale. With his tribe, a few things are established. For starters, there isn't a deeply comprehensive language. Everyone has a basic calling name, and there's basic words for hunt, eat, but no sentences are formed, as there's no need to. Also, Vandal isn't the leader. That would be a grizzled elder known as Cain, the commander of the hunt, and the one who breeds with the most fertile woman, passing on their genes, leaving little for the other males. Vandal manages to have one mate, Nomi, as well as a younger son named Isaac. Eventually the men go out for a hunt, including Cain, Vandal, Cain's 2 eldest, Darlik and Rakaran respectively, as well as several other men. They all struggle a bit. Then they eventually find a Megalosaurus, so the clan prepares to hunt. They're set up where they all spread out, with the less experienced men, including the 2 sons, designed to disperse the deer, isolating one to a specific location, where the more experienced ones, including Cain and Van, will end up ambushing it. The plan is initiated, and they all end up cornering one deer, giving the beast a few stab wounds. Then Vandal ends up getting reckless, getting too close, eventually getting injured by the Megalosaurus. However, the beast is taken down, and they all prepare to head back. However, due to Vandal's injuries, he ends up slowing the group down. Eventually, a storm breaks out, inevitably resulting in more tension. When it starts to get dark, and the clan realizes they'll need to stop for the night, Cain beats up Vandal, believing it is his fault for slowing him down. They all then rest for the night in a cave, with Cain and his eldest trying to start a fire. Van is subjected to the very edge of the cave, enduring the chill. Then Khan comes over, giving him a piece of raw Megalosaurus meat. Suddenly, everyone stops what they're doing. There's a loud sonic boom. Then from the skies, they see a meteor, smashing through the trees, impacting a solid several miles away from the group. And even from that distance, they could all see its bizarre, lime-colored glow. Dalk and several others plan to check it out. Cain yells at them to come back. However, he decides to go with them to get some fire from a flaming tree, allowing them all to have a decent time while roughing through the darkness. They all feast on the leg of the Megalosaurus, all around the fire, except for Van, who is still subjected to the edge of the cave. A few of the men, including Klon, look at him pitifully, but don't feed him due to the leader. Dalk then goes up to Savage, taunting him with his meat. Then Van spits, resulting in them both to get in a scuffle, leading to Van to hold Dalk down, with a sharp spear to his neck. Cain then goes up to Vandal, making him let Dalk go. Kane then decides to put Vandal in an ultimatum, first motioning for him to either go out into the cold, possibly towards the Winky meteor. Then he motions for him to go to the fire with the rest of the clan. Then Kane pulls out a shredded rock, one which was established to be used to cut hair, demonstrating the catch. The likes of Vandal is beneath the trim, so he decides to head out to the cold, as the rest are laughing at his stubbornness. Out there, he endures a finger-biting cold. At some point, Vandal tumbles down a hill, suddenly getting closer to the meteor. He then decides it'll be a sanction. At the meteor, he knows that the snow is melted, leaving the nice steamy ground. Once Van reaches it, he immediately goes into a kitten-snuggly sleep. Then Vandal wakes up in the middle of the day. He sees the glow is gone, his group is gone, and he is now healed. He then takes the arduous journey back. Suddenly, he has an encounter with a cave bear, where he is majorly mauled up. However, due to his healing, he seems to be able to pull his own. Eventually he gets a serrated rock and stabs the bear, finally finishing him off. Once Van is healed, he goes back to the tribe with the bear. There's a celebration due to his comeback, and an immense kill, though Kane seems dodgy with him. Then when Van goes to see his son Isaac, he seems off, lack of eye contact, quieter than usual. Then through his son, he learns that Vandal is outraged. He chases after Kane. Dark tries to defend him, but Vandal ends up slicing him. Once Kane sees that, he fights back. Kane thinks he's won once he's slit Vandal's throat. However, Van heals and finishes him off. Vandal is tempted to finish off the rest of Kane's kin, but he decides to instead exorcise them, with Klon in charge. Now, Vandal's the leader. At first, Vandal seems to be shaping up the tribe. He's the main breeder with other women, producing a younger daughter, a baby son, and another one coming along the way. He still keeps in touch with his former mate Nomi, even helping their son being his mentor. The hunts are proven to be grander, taking down mammoths through using fire to scare them off a cliff. Strategics which gets him praised wildly. However, one bad day happened. It begins when Vandal starts training his son to hunt deer, when suddenly, he's attacked by a direwolf. Vandal beats the wolf to death, then tries to save his son. He takes him back to the tribe. However, by that time, they couldn't save him. Vandal then starts to realize that while everyone has aged, he hasn't changed a day. Then Vandal cuts his arm. He sees the expected result. Then he cuts his arm clean off, shocking everyone in the tribe. Then Vandal picks up the arm and puts it back to the stub. Even here it heals. Vandal then starts to wonder if he could die, even trying to have a conversation with his oldest mate. However, it's proven to be hard due to limited vocabulary. Difficulty conveying the idea of not dying. At a certain point, Vandal gets frustrated and ends the conversation. The next day, he appoints another male to be leader, then leaving souvenirs for most dear of his group, such as a piece of a Megalosaurus antler to Nomi, and a saber-toothed saber to his daughter, Scandal. Vandal then leaves. He goes into the environment, facing the cold head-on. At one point, he sees a saber-toothed pack feasting on carrion. He rampages at them, ripping them apart, eventually getting tackled by one off a cliff. It's a big fall, but Vandal ends up getting up, laughing, seemingly unable to find any limit to his power. In the end, Vandal is a fighter, and now that he has the time, it seems he'll need to keep moving. Then there's a vicious storm. Vandal starts to realize that it's affecting his family. Vandal goes to rescue them, but finds they're all buried. He digs and digs to find his whole clan dead, except for his daughter Scandal, protected by Nome. Vandal holds her tight, saying that he will protect her. We've then seen time pass by as Scandal gets older, simultaneously as Vandal teaches her. They develop a cohesive language together, with sentences. Vandal also sets up protection around the cave, surrounded by spikes and traps. He even gets in the habit of covering the place with cave bear blood, hoping it'll scent away other predators. This then goes into Scandal's teen years, where she is eager to be allowed to explore. Vandal strongly refuses. At one point, she thinks to escape, only to be scared by a cave bear. However, it turns out to be Vandal in a bear's skin. Scandal gets mad. Vandal does everything he could to convince her to stay. She agrees for now. We then cut to another day, where Vandal is on the hunt, where he wrestles a snow pig down with his bare hands. He then starts to head back, and we simultaneously see Scandal looking at her father head back. However, suddenly there's a twist, as the person Scandal sees is not her father, another man. He throws a spear at her, scraping her cheek. He evades most of the traps as he gets closer to her. She only manages to outwit the guy through pushing him into a trap. When Vandal comes, he sees his daughter in shock. With a scraped cheek that will not heal unless under normal conditions, he hugs her, telling her that everything will be okay. It is clear that no amount of traps will protect her from humans. She will need to learn to fight. Vandal starts to train his daughter, teaching her combat, as well as various weapons, many of them unusually advanced for the time. Like a crossbow, we see her slay a rabbit, then a deer, then a direwolf. With the most recent kill, she then learns that it has a pup. Vandal attempts to kill it, but Scandal stops him, insisting it could be used. Despite Vandal's hesitation, he decides to entertain the idea and allows her to keep it. We see her feeding the pup and teaching it to hunt. At one point, she trains the growing dog to hunt a rabbit. Vandal becomes impressed by the potential. At a certain point, Vandal even decides to pet the dog, enjoying the companion. We then see another hunt, where Van, Scan, and the dog stalk some Megalosaurus, employing some strategies from earlier. Then, in the midst of a hunt, the dog is kidnapped, resulting in Scandal and her father to run towards the bark. They then see that the pup is in the clutches of other hunters. Then one of the more prominent ones look at Vandal, referring to him by name. It's Clan, with a couple other sons of Cain. He remarks that Vandal hasn't changed, even asking if the other is the same. Vandal doesn't want to participate in the dialogue, so he fires a crossbow at the man with the dog, releasing it. Vandal then orders his daughter and dog to start running. The other men start throwing spears, with Clan telling them to throw them at the daughter. At a certain point, they get into a cave. While doing so, Vandal gets an herb and covers his crew with it. He then forces them against a wall, one arm across his daughter, another around the dog, with his hand holding its snout. Then a bear goes up to them and gives them a sniff. After that, his attentions are diverted to the other, going on a rampage scaring most of them off, while pinning one of them down for consumption. Then Vandal scares the bear away from the one under attack, then grabbing him, telling him to tell the other men to fear him. Then after the messenger flees, Vandal turns to Scandal, telling her that they have to leave, as no matter what, humans will never stop. They all three carry as much as possible, then leave. After a while of walking, they stop in an even larger cave towards the top of a mountain. They all set up. Then, while Vandal's finishing up a trap, he notices that his daughter is looking away, over the view, noticing a village of people. Vandal pulls her away. Scandal points out that they could possibly coexist, but Vandal simply says he does not trust other humans. We've then seen time pass by. Scandal is proven to be an even better hunter, though there's a sense that she is tired. At one point, Vandal sees her doing cave paintings of humans congregating. Vandal congratulates her work. Then there's a point while he's petting the dog, who at the point is starting to get old, and it snaps. With that, Vandal ends up smashing the dog's back with a spiked club. Scandal then comes in for rescue, slapping her father. However, at this point the dog is badly injured, unable to move his back legs. Scandal is bawling her eyes out. Vandal then allows her outside as he puts the dog out of its misery. Later, Vandal looks at her, now adding a dog cave painting. She is now in her late 30s, and he still hasn't aged a day. So Vandal sits her around a fire to talk. They go over life skills he taught her, as well as how to interact with humans. He also tells her to feel free to see him if she wants. Scandal then goes and integrates with the tribe, with Vandal watching from a distance. At first she seems to be strong, but she eventually fits in, even becoming a prime hunter. At a certain point he stops watching, and primarily stays at his cave, with the occasional hunt. He even tries to attempt cave paintings like his daughter, but at a certain point he gets frustrated. He then sees a young woman in the distance. He runs towards her, but twist, it's not Scandal. He grabs the spear, but then double twist, he sees a very old woman stop him. It's Scandal. Vandal gets anxious, thinking how long has it been? Then he and Scandal talk privately. Van talking about how much she seemed to have grown, and Scan remarking on all of her adventures, children, and how after today, she will be restricted to her section of the cave. She says she wants him to stay with her during her final days. Van is hesitant, but then he comes along. He keeps by her side, trying to avoid contact with others, still comforting her. At one point, Scan's daughter tries to make a move on Van, startling him. Then again, with how he's actually physically younger than his daughter, he is only perceived as a friend. Then we see older Scandal cough up a riot, and while a caregiver is tending to her, Van leaves. Frustrated, he runs into a wood. He then reaches a familiar area, where the tree is still wrecked, the meteor. He starts to find the area where it impacted and starts digging. He finds the rock, looking dull. Enraged, he starts to beat it with a stone tool. Then suddenly, he sees some glowing ooze. He runs back to the tribe. There he carefully grabs Scandal, curbing a dog, then running into the woods as others chase him. Eventually, he outruns them and reaches the location. He puts his daughter next to the meteor, but nothing. There is suddenly no more glowing ooze. Nothing could save Scandal. She gives one final goodbye, then she passes. Vandal then decides to take the body to where the old clan used to be. There he starts digging, but he can't find them. He then looks up to see Clam, looking oddly youthful. He took the glow. Vandal attempts to attack, but Clam yells that he could save Scandal. He just needs to hear what he wants to say. Van agrees. Clam then goes off on his past events, how he rebuilt himself, tried to be a good leader, but could never live up to Cain. Then he talks of how he resaw him with the dog, and reflecting on his powers. Then Clam talks of when he got older and demented, eventually leaving his tribe to go to the place that Vandal got his powers. He talks of how much time he spent trying to find it, stating how he was losing his mind, barely able to hunt, lost track of time, losing hope. Then, he recalled when he saw Vandal digging it up. He stated that as soon as Vandal left, he got closer to where it was dug up, even reflecting on the fact he actually passed, dying for a few seconds when he got to the edge of a hole, till he fell in and absorbed the rest of the glow. He states it literally brought him back from the other side. Vandal is getting tired of his story, demanding to know how Clam could bring back Scandal. Clam then gets a stone club, stating that he only wants 2 whacks with it. Vandal is extremely hesitant, but after frustrations, he decides to let him have a go. Clam gives 2 hard whacks to the head. After that, Vandal asks how. However, Clam still forces a few more, repetitively doing it till Vandal's head is nothing but a pulpy pudding. As soon as he reaches the point, Clam leaves, not skipping a second to avoid witnessing the final results. Miraculously, Vandal's head heals as soon as he gets his senses together. Realizing he has been tricked, he yells in fury, running into the woods demanding vengeance. Then after a while he heads back to Scandal's body, seeing a saber-tooth try to take it. Vandal instantly creates fire to a branch, using it to scare the cat away. Vandal then takes the body, going over various mountains. He then puts her body in a frozen lake, freezing it. Then he starts digging a hole, at least a couple 100 feet deep. Then he puts her frozen body in a hole with a ton of ice. Then Vandal covers up the whole hole, planting a tree seedling on top, stating he will be back. He promises. Then Vandal leaves, going on a rampage hunting animals, all with his hands and the bare minimum tool. Gets toppled by a woolly rhino? No worries. He keeps getting up till he can rip it through the inside, every possible way with every creature. Vandal takes them all on. At a certain point, after obliterating a herd of mammoths with a glacier, Vandal gets bored, deciding he's had enough of his senseless violence. He then starts noticing the general change in climate, oceans rising significantly, warmer air, less of the big hairy creatures. Then he decides to absorb the little things, noticing various animal behaviors, such as documents of leopards taunting a small gazelle, or wildebeest stupidly trying to save its crippled child. He even starts going over and observing human tribes, noticing the nuances, the correlation with animals, as well as how they surpass him. In his center of operations, being a giant cave, he carves various notes and paints multiple pictures on the wall, based on all of his observations. There is a point where it covers every inch of a wall, now having to carve on rocks and tusks. Then at one point, Vandal decides to block off his cave with rubble, so that with the exception of a secret entrance, no one could enter. Then he passes by the area where Scandal was buried, with a planted tree now fully grown. Vandal then takes a knee, vowing to bring Scandal back sometime. He then leaves, deciding to join another tribe, first integrating, then he decides to claim himself leader. No, their god. He gives a demonstration of his healing powers. Then with control of people, he decides to start society. He utilizes each coming generation of his people to start building up an empire, various buildings set up, the foundation of what will be Mesopotamia. He even works with various scribes to build up a mythology, tales of a forbidden fruit which changed the course of a species, a climate shift which flooded in the new. He avoids interacting with other human, primarily watching from above, only coming to congregate for what is the equivalent of once per year. Then there's a period of time when he leaves his Mesopotamian construction to check out other sectors of humanity, noting that they are already going through a similar experience. building up their own civilization. Through his newly gained set of notes, he heads to a secret cave to write more down. Then when he gets back to his city, he decides to take the throne. Try being a ruler for an extended period of time, taking up the name Sargon of Akkad, even allowing people to make temples of him. He rebels in being a god amongst men. Then we see a group of hunters finding a person. They ask who he is. Then he cuts his leg, and it heals. When the ruler hears of this, he orders the men to bring him here. Then he sees it is grainy goodness. Just kidding. Of course it's Klon. Vandal tells everyone to go. Then walking up to Klon, holding a weapon. Klon states he just needs to talk, but Vandal wants vengeance. Then there's a cut to the outside, where we see the employees react to every impact sound. Then we cut back inside, where Klon is healing, with Vandal sitting on his throne. He can now talk. Klon states he's only talking because Vandal is the only other person in the world who has the same power, as well as the afflictions that come with it. And here he only wants to talk for cathartic release. He also states that if he isn't freed by the end of the day, a pair of assassins that he has worked with will come and destroy this empire. Van agrees and they talk of their perception of people in society. Klon stating everyone deserves an equal share, while Vandal talks of the incentive to get people to work, as well as a purpose, where Klon longed for a normal life rather than aimless wandering. Vandal saying that despite outliving friends, it is an honor to see the progression of humanity, awaiting to see the insanity of it. Then Klon attempts to leave. Vandal stops him. Klon states that the assassins will wreck this town. Vandal says let him try. Now he is preparing forces for these assassins, lining up catapults and arrows. Then they come. 2 winged Thanagarians, flying above, dropping firebombs at them. Vandal is astounded by this human anomaly, pondering if they're even human. These 2 are fairly diligent, taking out dozens of soldiers. One of them picks up Vandal, throwing him into the tower while exploding a firebomb. However, Vandal, covered in fire, grabs the alien midair and pummels it to the ground. The angel attempts to fly away, but its wing is damaged, allowing Vandal to finish it off. The other one then frees Klon, flying away with him. It all seems to be over. Then Vandal gets a crossbow he hasn't used in thousands of years, firing it at them in midair, hitting the angel square in the head, resulting in them both to tumble down. As Vandal orders his men to collect angels for study, he drags Klon, ties him to some heavy rocks, and puts him at the edge of a cliff towards an ocean. Klon pleads to Vandal not to do this. It's savage, and without him, he will no longer have a constant to talk to. Vandal states it's a big world of angels. He'll find someone. Vandal then gives a few final words, telling Klon he was never worried for power. Then he plops him into water. Then we see him on his throne, looking smugly. There are multiple flashes of Vandal throughout the years, ending with a final flash for present, surrounded by members in the Justice League. There he states, got all the time in the world. Now for a bit of prologue. Obviously, these paleological origins shape a lot of what Vandal is to come. His lust for power and advancing, his desire to study and understand, a disdain for primitive animals, a longing hope to bring his daughter back, which I'll just say when the world gets advanced enough, should happen, and how Klon might return from his centuries of torture to declare vengeance once more. It's an expansive quest through time, which required a heavy setup. Now generally I'm not a fan of origin stories, mainly because I want to move past the inciting incident, onto more intriguing things. We get Batman's parents are dead. We need to move beyond the toddler phase to get to the Cape Crusader stuff. The potential that I find with Vandal's origins is his eventual objective. You see, with the likes of let's say Batman, you get the basic objective of stop crime in Gotham. They all have constant anchors, like Alfred or Mary Jane. With Vandal, he doesn't really retain either of them. Due to being immortal, he'll end up outliving everyone he ever knew, except for the one immortal bastard. With that, he'll lose his human anchors, and his objective ends up no longer being a single person or sector, but to be an aimless wanderer throughout time, whether be a ruler or a bystander. All he could end up doing is playing around. And hey, through being the immortal Time Master, he could easily be one of the great villains.